as Poet Laureate of Maryland, one of the things I said when I was appointed was that I didn't do windows, I didn't do supermarket openings, that sort of thing. But when Maryland had its 350th anniversary, that seemed like the sort of thing you do if you're Poet Laureate. And so I wanted to write a poem for it, but then I was told that the theme for the anniversary was our happy colonial days. And as I said, I probably only had one, and it might have been Christmas, I'm not sure. So I wrote a poem for that occasion, but I also wrote a poem for myself on that occasion, and I'd like to recite that. It was called Why Some People Be Mad at Me Sometimes. And it goes, they ask me to remember, but they want me to remember their memories. And I keep on remembering mine. I'd like to read some newer poems. This first, I was looking through my work. I was trying to find some nice poems about landscape. You know, poets supposed to write about that. And I couldn't find any. Anyway, this has no title. Surely I am able to write poems celebrating grass and how the blue in the sky can flow green or red, and the waters lean against the Chesapeake shore like a familiar love. Poems about nature and landscape, surely. But whenever I begin, the trees wave their knotted branches, and God, there is always under that poem an other poem. This is a poem about my sister. My father had 3 daughters by 3 different women. My mother was special because she bore a son also. My oldest sister was a prostitute. I bet I'm not the only person in this room that's at least acquainted with a prostitute. And one of my strengths is that the day when I realized that I was not alone. And so one of the things I like to do as a poet, there are 2 things I was told that I do as a poet. One is to have voice for those who have not yet learned to speak, and for people to not feel they are alone. And the other was to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. Here rests my sister, Josephine, born July in 29 and dead these 15 years, who carried a book on every stroll. When Daddy was dying, she left the streets and moved back home to tend him. Her pimp came too, her Diamond Dick, and they would take turns reading the Bible aloud through the house. When you poem this, and you will, she would say, remember the book of Job. Happy birthday and hope to you, Josephine, one of the East's most wanted. May heaven be filled with literate men. May they bed you with respect. I should say that my sister Josephine's pimp's name was not Richard. Kind of fun. When I was about 10 years old, my Aunt Blanche, one day, I was with at my father's house, and my aunt rolled down the driveway into the street. I am not saying that my aunt rolled something down the driveway into the street. My Aunt Blanche rolled down the driveway. I hadn't seen a lot of that. And so I was trying to, as most of my poems, I suppose, in some way or other, are trying to understand what I see. Praise song. To my Aunt Blanche, who rolled from grass to driveway into the streets one Sunday morning. I was 10. I had never seen a human woman hurl her basketball of a body into the traffic of the world. Praise to the drivers who stopped in time. Praise to the faith with which she rose after some moments, then slowly walked sighing back to her family. Praise to the arms which understood little or nothing of what it meant, but welcomed her in without judgment, accepting it all like children might, like God. Another thing I liked a lot when I was a kid was I liked horror. I still like horror movies. You know, I have a lot of videos, and I have all the ones you're supposed to have if you have a chair at a college, you know, like Shakespeare and stuff. But I've got all the Godzillas. I'm very fond of Godzilla. And I recently said this somewhere and realized that no one in the room had ever heard of Mothra. And have you ever heard of Mothra? I'm very fond of Mothra. Mothra has these two little girls who live in this box, and I like them because they call him the mighty thing. I mean, they don't know what it is either, but he's a mighty thing. Well, when I was a girl, I felt very safe around the Wolfman and all these folk because if you noticed, they only liked white girls. So it's true. So this is a poem about the Phantom. I was very fond of the Phantom. The Phantom, in his purple mask, his purple bodysuit, lived with a wolf called Devil. The village believed him immortal, the ghost who walks though he was only a man. I would save up to go watch him in his cave of skulls, his penthouse in the city. He would fall in love with a white girl, like all the heroes and monsters did. I was a little brown girl. After the show, I would walk home wondering, is anything fair? What is his true name? Where are his people? What would he feel if he saw me?